Hello students, how are you? Today the story we are going to discuss is The Happy Prince, written by Oscar Wilde. This story was written in 1888 and it has been taken from the anthology of Happy Prince and the Other Stories by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde is basically an Irish poet, but he has written some dramas and stories as well. So this is the story about the Happy Prince. When Happy Prince was alive, he had no worries, he had no problems, he had no pains at all. But when his statue stood in the city too much high and he can see everything from his own eyes, then he comes to know that the world is full of sorrows, the world is full of pains. So whatever he sees, whatever he does for the people, and what the swallow does for him and the people. So this is the main theme of the story. So let us read and we'll discuss it in the end of the story, what the theme is, what the story is all about. So let us start the story. High above the city on a tall column stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with the thin leaves of the fine gold. For eyes he had two bright sapphire, and large red ruby glowed on his sword's handle. One night there flew over a city a little swallow. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. "Where shall I stay?" asked the swallow to himself. "I hope there will be some place in the city for me to stay." Then he saw the statue on the tall column. "I will stay here," he said to himself. "It is a fine place, and here is a beautiful fresh air." So he stayed there at the feet of Happy Prince. "I have a golden bedroom," he said to himself, and he goes to sleep. But when he was putting his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. "What a curious thing!" he cried. "There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining." Another drop fell. "What is the use of this statue if it cannot keep the rain off, if I cannot be away from the rain?" So he said, "I must look for some good chimney pot." He determined to fly away. But before he had opened his wing, a third drop fell, and he looked up and saw. Oh, what did he see? The eyes of the Happy Prince were filled with the tears and were running down from the golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful, and in the moonlight, that the swallow was filled with pity. "Who are you?" "I am the Happy Prince." "Why are you weeping?" The swallow asked. "You have quite drenched me." Now the Happy Prince answers, and in this answer you may see the difference between the people who are dead and what they feel. So he says, "When I was alive and I had a human heart," answered the statue, "I did not know what tears were, for I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. My courtiers called me the Happy Prince, and the Happy Prince indeed I was. So I lived, and so I died, and now I am dead. They have set me here up so high that I can see the ugliness and all the miseries of the city. And though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. What is he not? What is he not? Solid gold," said the swallow to himself. "He was too polite to make my personal remarks. Far away," continued the statue in a low musical voice. Now he tells him something different. He doesn't answer the same question. He says, "Far away in a little street there is a poor house. One of the windows is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse and red hands, all pricked by the needle, for she is seamstress." Lady Taylor. She is seamstress. She is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest queen of maids of honor to wear at the next court ball. In the bed, in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He is ill. He has fever. He is asking his mother to give him oranges. His mother has nothing. His mother has no money to buy oranges for the boy. The swallow. He is crying. Swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt, out of my sword's handle? My feet are fastened to this pedestal that I cannot move. I am waited for in Egypt. Swallow says. Swallow says, I am being waited in Egypt. My friends are flying up and down the Nile, and I am taking to the lotus flower. Soon they will go to sleep. The prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. The boy is so thirsty and the mother so sad. He said, I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. I want to go to Egypt. But the happy prince looked so sad that the little swallow was sorry. It is very cold here, he said, but agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. Thank you, swallow. Thank you very much, said the prince. The swallow picked out the great ruby from Prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over the room of the town. He passed by the cathedral tower where the white marble angels were sculptured. He passed by the palace and heard the sound of dancing. A beautiful girl came out on the balcony with her lover. I hope my dress will be ready in time for the state ball, she said. I have ordered flowers to be embroidered on it, but the seamstress means Lady Taylor, are so lazy. He passed over the river and saw the lanterns hanging on the masts of the ships. At last he came to the poor house and looked in. The boy was tossing fiercely on his bed and the mother had fallen asleep. She was so tired in the hoop and laid the great ruby on the table beside the woman's thimble. Then he flew gently round the bed, fanning the boy's forehead with his wings. How cool I feel, said the boy. I must be getting better. And he sank into the delicious slumber. Then the swallow flew back to the happy prince and told what he had done. It is curious, he remarked, but I feel quite warm now that it is so cold. But it is so cold. So the swallow had given the ruby to the woman and he fanned the boy with his wings. Now the boy was feeling very good. So he tells all these things to the happy prince. So next, that is because you have done a good action. And the little swallow began to think and then fell asleep. Thinking always made him sleepy. When the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. Have you any work for Egypt? He cried. I am just starting. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, will you stay with me one night longer? I am waited for in Egypt, answered the swallow. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Far away across the city, I see a young man in a garret. Now the next thing he sees, the prince sees, the next misery he sees, the next pain he sees. He is leaning over a desk covered with paper, and in the glass by his side here is a bunch of withered violets. Hair is brown and crisp, and his lips are red as pomegranate. And he has large and dreamy eyes. He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theatre. But he is too cold to write any more. There is no fire in the grate, and the hunger has made him faint. I will wait with you one night longer, said the swallow, who really had a good heart. He asked if he should take another ruby to the young playwright. Alas, I have no ruby now, said the prince. My eyes are all that have left. They are made of rare sapphires, which are brought out of India 1,000 years ago. He ordered the swallow to pluck out one of them and take it to the playwright. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy firewood and finish his play, he said. Dear prince, said the swallow, I cannot do that. And he again began to weep. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, do as I command you, as I say. So the swallow plucked out the prince's eyes and flew away to the student's cabin. It was easy enough to get in, and there was a hole in the roof. Through this he came in the room. The young man had his head buried in his hands, and he did not hear the sound of his wings. And when he looked up, he found that beautiful sapphire lying on the withered violet. I am beginning to be appreciated, he thought. He said to himself. This is from some great admirer. Now I can finish my play. And he looked quite happy. The next day, the swallow flew down on the harbor. He sat on the mast of the large vessel and watched the sailor working. I am going to Egypt, cried the swallow, but nobody even noticed him. When the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. I have come to bid you goodbye, he cried. Swallow cried. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Will you not stay with me one night longer? It is winter, answered the swallow, and the snow will fall soon. In Egypt the sun is warm, and the green palm trees and the crocodile lie in the mud and look lazily about them. In the square below, said the happy prince, the next task. In the square below, there stands a little match girl. She has let her matches fall in the gutter. Her matches are fallen in the gutter, and they are all spoiled. Her father will beat her if she doesn't bring some money at home. And she is crying. She has no shoes or stockings, and her little head is bare. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her, and her father will not beat her. I will stay with you one night longer, said the swallow, but I cannot pluck out your eye. You would be quite blind then. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Do as I ask you, do as I command you. So he plucked the prince's other eye and darted down, flew down with it. He swooped past the match girl and slipped the jewel into the palms of her hand. What a lovely bit of glass, she cried, and she ran home laughingly. Then the swallow came back to the prince. You are blind now, he said, so I will stay with you always. No, little swallow, said the poor prince. You must go to Egypt. No, I will stay with you always, said the swallow. All the next day, he sat on Prince's shoulders and told him what he is seeing here and there. Dear little swallow, said the prince, you tell me so many things, so many great things, but more marvelous than anything is suffering of man or woman, and there is no mystery so great as misery. Fly over my city, little swallow, and tell me what you see there. So the swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich making merry in the beautiful houses, while the beggars were sitting at the gates. He flew into dark lanes and saw the white faces of starving children looking out listlessly and at the black streets under the archway of the bridge, two little boys were lying in each other's arms to try and keep themselves warm. How hungry we are, they said. You must not lie here, shouted the watchman. And they wandered out into the rain. Then he flew back and told the prince what he had seen. I am covered with gold, said the prince. You must take it off leaf by leaf and give it to the poor people. The happy prince ordered the swallow. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold the swallow picked off till there was no gold left. Leaf after leaf, fine gold brought to the poor, and the children, and their faces grew rosier. They were shining, and they laughed and played in the street. We have bread now, they cried. Then the snow came, and after the snow came the frost, and streets looked as if they were made of silver. Everybody went about in furs. And the little boy wore scarlet caps and skated on the ice. The poor little swallow grew older and colder. Grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. He loved him too much, too well. He picked up crumbs outside the baker's door, and when the baker was not looking, and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. But at last he knew that he was going to die. He had just enough strength to fly up the prince's shoulder. Once more, goodbye, dear prince, he murmured. Will you let me kiss your hand? I am glad that you are going to Egypt at last, little swallow, said the prince. You have stayed too long here, but you must kiss me on the lips as for I love you. It is not to Egypt I am going, said the swallow. I am going to the house of death. Death is the brother of sleep, is not. And he kissed the happy prince on his lips and fell down, dead at his feet. At a moment, a curious crack sounded inside the statue, as if something had broken. The fact is that the leaden heart had snapped right in two. In fact, the heart was broken into two. His heart was broken. It certainly was a dreadfully hard frost. Early next morning, the mayor was walking in the square below in the company with the town councillor. As they passed the column, he looked up at the statue. Dear me, oh mere Rabba. How shabby the happy prince looks, he said to the councillor, to him. He cried, who always agreed with mayor, and they went up to look at it. The ruby has fallen out of his sword, his eyes are gone, and he is golden no longer, said the mayor. In fact, he is little better than a beggar. It means that he is not little better than a beggar. Little better than a beggar, said the town councillor. And here is actually a dead bird at his feet, continued the mayor. We must really issue a proclamation that the birds are not to be allowed to die here. And then the town clerk made a note of the suggestion. So they pulled down the statue of the prince, happy prince, as he is no longer beautiful, he is no longer useful, said the art professor at the university. Then they melted the statue in a furnace. What a strange thing, said the overseer of the workmen at the foundry. This broken lead heart will not melt in the furnace. We must throw it away. So they threw it on a dust heap where the dead swallow was also lying. Now the story changes here. Bring me two most precious things in the city, said God to one of his angels, and the angel brought him happiness. They brought him the lead hurt and the dead bird. You have rightly chosen, said God, for in my garden of paradise this little bird shall sing forevermore, and in my city of gold, the happy prince shall praise me. So this is the story, actually. So I want to make some things clear for you, that love, compassion, honesty, helping the other people is the thing that makes you happy. Not money, not diamonds, not rubies, not sapphires. These things are not of any use in your life. So always keep helping the people. If you are happy, it doesn't mean that everybody is happy. If you are rich, it doesn't mean that you are rich. You must take care of other people. When the happy prince was in his palace, he didn't know the miseries of his people, the miseries of the people of his kingdom. But when he is personified as a statue, and his statue is put in the square of the city, he sees that the world is full of sorrows. He can peep into the houses of the people of his kingdom, and he can see that there is a big problem in everybody's house. So he tries to help each and every person with whatever he had. And the swallow, though it was a little bird, yet he tried his best to give the services to the humanity. So this is the story. We must consider these things in our life and try to use honesty, love, warmth, compassion in our life, so that we may help the other people. Thank you very much.